Today is one of those days that I don't feel like doing anything. It's been a really difficult couple of weeks with everything that's happening in the news. It's a heavy time. And on top of that, everyone in the house is sick. I'm sick, my partner's sick, our daughter's sick. Feels like she's been sick since like October of last year. And it is flu season and she's a toddler who goes to daycare, so she's basically going to be sick forever. That's how it feels anyways. But all I want to do right now is paint, and I haven't felt the urge to just break out some paints and try something in a really long time. In fact, painting has become quite a challenge for me. It feels like a burden most of the times. Yeah, it's become a bit of a slog, but for some reason I just really want to break out paints and just play around. So I'm gonna do that because it's so rare that happens, and I rarely get inspired in this way. And my palette's basically set up. I think it's dried out from that last palette video, but I can easily fix that. To make it super easy and low barrier for me, I found some old sketches that I never finished. I think I'm gonna paint this. And this is kind of tiny. Sorry, don't look at my atrocious nails, but like you can see in comparison for scale, like it's not very big. So I don't know if this might be like kind of challenging for that type of work. I don't know, but we'll see. Let's try this. Yeah, I'm gonna get started and I will see you at the end of this video. So to begin, I'm just taking some black acrylic paint and doing a rough outline, almost like a sketch. I normally wouldn't paint a dark black outline, and it's also funny because in my previous video about palettes, I talk about how I would never put black on my palette. So basically, all the advice I gave, I did the complete opposite. So I just want to put a disclaimer in here. The palette video was specifically for my type of work that I make. When you're making other types of art, you might want a different palette, so just disclaimer. But also, if you have your basics, if you have your primaries, you can make any color, and everything else is just optional. So I'll just put it up there. And yeah, it had been such a long time since I had painted like this, so I was a little bit lost at first. I started with the darkest darks, which again, not at all how I normally paint. So in the beginning I was a little hesitant, just putting bits of paint on, not really understanding what I was doing. And that's how most of my paintings start, to be honest. I have to like get into the flow state and just put paint on the canvas, and then eventually my hands and my brain remembers how to paint, and then it just happens, and then I almost forget what I'm doing until the very end. I was trying not to use really tiny brushes and get lost in the details, but because the face is so small, it was quite challenging. I had to grab a couple of tiny brushes just to bring the details of the sketch back. I think the next time I do this, which might be today, because I'm just watching this and remembering how fun it was, and I think I might just do it again. But I'm gonna do just the face, or I'm gonna do a larger piece, because I found it really hard to use bigger brushes on such a small face. But that being said, it was still super fun. you have to work through the ugly stage on paintings like this even more, I find, and just cross your fingers and hope for the best. And then eventually, somewhere in the middle, it starts to make sense. Right from the jump, I desperately wanted to paint the background and define those edges and make it clean because that's how I'm used to working. So that was also a struggle, resisting the urge. And then also, I have a tendency to use quite a bit of color naturally. As you can see beside me, my reference, I have the reference photo, and then I have a kind of color reference of one of Alice Neal's works. But like, if that wasn't there, I feel like this painting would have been more successful because I always become a little bit too reliant and married to my reference. And I think I make much more interesting choices when just left to my own natural intuition. So I almost wished I didn't have that up when I was just looking at the one reference, or even better yet, no reference, which is why I prefer not to use reference. On the other hand, because you have a reference, it's almost like you don't have to make as many decisions as you're going, and so the decision fatigue isn't there. You can just kind of let go and submit to the painting process. So yeah, I don't know. I think next time I'm still going to have a photo reference, but I'm not going to use a color reference, and then see what comes up. This was so satisfying, painting in this background. And I'm sure some of you are going to say that this was the wrong decision and that watercolor splotchy thing looked better, but I couldn't resist. I needed to clean up those edges. I'll make it there eventually. But I'm proud of myself for even just letting go and like letting this painting be. There's just looking at this, there's so many things that I want to fix, but I resisted. Okay, so just finished up this piece. It took me roughly an hour. That was super fun. It feels really good to finish something in an hour. I feel like these days my to-do list is so long and all of my projects are extremely long term. Rarely do I get to check things off the list and feel finished in a day. It also feels so good to just paint for the sake of painting, just for fun. I think I have to do more of this. And I also really want to develop this style more because it is so much quicker. And a lot of my works traditionally have been quite designed, I would say. So I spend quite a bit of time figuring out the composition and design before I start. And then as I'm going, because I don't paint from reference, it takes me quite a while to work through all of that on the canvas and then colors. It's usually quite a struggle with my pieces. It's like wrestling them into submission until I get to the end. And I also just really enjoy this loose style. Like, this is the type of painting that I like to look at. I like really like textural, heavy brush strokes. I like to see the hand in pieces. And I always found it funny that there was a bit of a disconnect between the work that I make and the work that I like. And I would love to close that gap. Not to say I don't like really highly rendered works as well. It's just I tend to gravitate towards more minimal styles, more loose. And so, yeah, I'd love to let go and be able to develop that a little bit more. So that was super fun. I'll have to try that again. Not much else to say there. I hope you enjoyed it. I haven't done like a like a real-time painting video. So not sure how much of this will make it into the final video, but I will try to have a full-length version on my Patreon. So if you're interested, you can sign up in the link below. And if you like this video, please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.